In 476 CE, a Germanic leader named Odoacer deposed the last Western Roman emperor. But Rome didn't fall that day. It had been collapsing for over 200 years. Through economic crisis, military decline, political chaos, and external pressure. Today, we're revealing the step-by-step process that brought down history's greatest empire. Before we discover how Rome really fell, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. We're exploring ancient empires every week. Let's uncover the truth. The Roman Empire. For over 500 years, it dominated the Mediterranean world. From Britain to Egypt, from Spain to Syria. At its height in 117 CE under Emperor Trajan, it controlled approximately 5 million square kilometers. An estimated 70 million people lived under Roman rule. Then it collapsed. But this wasn't a sudden event. Historian Alexander Demant identified over 210 different theories about why Rome fell. Modern scholars recognize that no single cause explains it. Instead, multiple factors accumulated over centuries. Economic problems, military challenges, political instability, climate change, disease, and external invasions, all interacting in a complex process of decline. Today we're walking through the stages of Rome's collapse, step by step, decade by decade, understanding how the world's greatest empire gradually fell apart. Stage 1. The crisis of the 3rd century, 235–284 CE. Rome's troubles began in earnest during the 3rd century crisis. Between 235 and 284 CE, Rome had over 50 emperors. Only a few died of natural causes. Most were overthrown or eliminated by rivals. This period started when Emperor Severus Alexander was removed by his own troops in 235 CE. What followed was 50 years of chaos. Emperors lasted an average of just 2 years. Some ruled for only months. The Praetorian Guard, originally the emperor's bodyguard, became kingmakers. They sold the throne to the highest bidder. The Senate lost all real power. Provincial governors declared themselves independent emperors. At one point, the empire fractured into 3 separate entities: the Gallic Empire in the west, the Palmyrene Empire in the east, and Rome in between. Meanwhile, external enemies sensed weakness. The Sassanid Persian Empire, which emerged in 226 CE, launched devastating attacks on Rome's eastern provinces. Germanic tribes raided across the Rhine and Danube frontiers. The Goths invaded the Balkans repeatedly. Emperor Decius perished fighting them in 251 CE, the first Roman emperor to fall in combat against foreign enemies. Emperor Valerian was captured by the Persians in 260 CE. He spent the rest of his life as a prisoner, reportedly used as a footstool by the Persian king. This instability crippled the economy. To pay soldiers and defend borders, emperors debased the currency. They reduced the silver content in coins. By the 260s, Roman coins contained almost no silver at all. This caused massive inflation. Prices skyrocketed. Trade declined. Cities shrank as people fled to the countryside for safety. The tax base collapsed, which meant less money for the military, which meant weaker defenses, which invited more invasions. A vicious cycle had begun. Stage 2. Diocletian's Reforms and Division, 284–305 CE. In 284 CE, Diocletian became emperor. He stabilized the situation through drastic reforms. He divided the empire into 4 administrative regions. The Tetrarchy, rule by 4. 2 senior emperors called Augusti and 2 junior emperors called Caesars. This was supposed to prevent succession crises. Each region had its own administration and military command. Diocletian also reformed taxation, creating a more systematic collection system. He implemented price controls to combat inflation. He expanded the military to over 400,000 soldiers. But these reforms came with consequences. The expanded bureaucracy and larger army required massive tax revenues. The tax burden on citizens increased dramatically. Many farmers couldn't pay. They abandoned their land or became tied to it as virtual serfs. The divide between rich and poor widened, and Diocletian's tetrarchy system failed almost immediately after he retired in 305 CE. Within years, civil conflicts erupted over succession. Stage 3. Constantine and the Shift East, 306 to 337 CE. Constantine emerged victorious from the post-Diocletian struggles in 312 CE. In 313 CE, he legalized Christianity through the Edict of Milan. By 380 CE, under Emperor Theodosius, Christianity became the state religion. This religious transformation had profound effects. The traditional Roman value system centered on civic virtue and the divine emperor weakened. Resources that once funded temples and civic institutions now went to churches. Some historians argue this shifted focus away from earthly empire towards spiritual salvation. Others dispute this, noting Christianity also provided social cohesion. The debate continues. More significantly, Constantine made a strategic decision in 330 CE. He founded a new capital, Constantinople. Built on the site of the ancient Greek city Byzantium, it occupied a strategically superior location, controlling trade routes between Europe and Asia. Easier to defend than Rome. Closer to the wealthy eastern provinces. This effectively split the empire's center of power. Rome, the eternal city, became increasingly peripheral. The western provinces struggled economically while the east flourished. Constantinople attracted talent, wealth, and attention. Rome was left vulnerable. Stage 4. Economic decline and dependency. 4th to 5th century CE. By the 4th century, Rome's economic system was failing. The empire had been built on conquest. Conquering new territories brought slaves, wealth, and tribute. But by the 3rd century, expansion had stopped. No new conquests meant no new slaves. Rome's agricultural system depended on slave labor. Large estates called latifundia used enslaved workers. As the slave supply declined, agricultural production dropped. Food shortages became common. The empire had to import grain to feed Rome's population. At one point, over 100,000 people in Rome alone received free grain distributions. These people contributed little economically but drained resources. Unemployment in cities increased. This created social tension and higher rates of unrest. Meanwhile, inflation continued. The government debased currency further. Trade networks deteriorated. Cities shrank. Archaeological evidence shows urban areas contracting from the 2nd century onward. Fortification walls enclosed progressively smaller areas. Outer neighborhoods were abandoned. The tax base continued eroding, which meant the military couldn't be properly funded. Soldier pay declined. Equipment quality decreased. Recruitment became difficult. Stage 5. Military transformation and barbarian integration, 4th-5th century CE. As Roman citizens became unwilling or unable to serve, emperors hired foreign mercenaries. Germanic warriors called foederati were recruited in large numbers. By the late 4th century, the Roman army was increasingly composed of non-Romans. These soldiers had little loyalty to Rome itself. They fought for pay, not patriotism. Their commanders often pursued personal agendas. Some Germanic generals became more powerful than emperors. Stilicho, a Vandal, effectively ruled the Western Empire in the early 5th century as guardian of the child emperor Honorius. This dependency on foreign soldiers proved catastrophic. When payments stopped or treaties broke down, these armies turned against Rome. Stage 6. The Great Migrations and Invasions, 376-476 CE. In 376 CE, a critical event occurred. The Huns, a nomadic group from Central Asia, pushed westward. They displaced Germanic tribes living north of the Danube. The Goths, fleeing Hun aggression, requested permission to enter Roman territory. Emperor Valens allowed approximately 200,000 Goths to cross the Danube, but Roman officials exploited them. They provided inadequate food and charged extortionate prices for supplies. The Goths revolted. In 378 CE, at the Battle of Adrianople, Gothic forces destroyed a Roman army. Emperor Valens perished in the conflict. This shocked the Roman world. It demonstrated that Rome could no longer control movements across its borders. The floodgates opened. In 405-406 CE, multiple Germanic groups crossed the frozen Rhine River into Gaul. Vandals, Alans, Suevi, they pillaged their way across Gaul and into Spain. Rome couldn't stop them. In 410 CE, Visigothic King Alaric did the unthinkable. He sacked Rome itself, the first time in over 800 years that the Eternal City had fallen to foreign forces. The psychological impact was enormous. If Rome could fall, the empire was clearly dying. In 455 CE, the Vandals, now established in North Africa, sailed across the Mediterranean. They sacked Rome again. Britain was abandoned entirely by 410 CE. Spain fell under Visigothic control. North Africa, Rome's breadbasket, was lost to the Vandals. Gaul fragmented among Franks, Burgundians, and others. By the mid-5th century, the Western Empire controlled only Italy and parts of Gaul. Stage 7. Climate, disease, and environmental factors. Recent scholarship highlights factors beyond politics and conflicts. Climate data shows the Roman climate optimum ended around 150 CE. Temperatures cooled, rainfall patterns changed, agricultural yields declined. This stressed an already struggling economy. Disease played a devastating role. The Antonine Plague, 165-180 CE, killed millions. Some estimates suggest it removed 10–25% of the empire's population. The Plague of Cyprian, 249–262 CE, struck during the 3rd century crisis. It may have killed 5,000 people daily in Rome at its peak. Population declined dramatically. Fewer people meant fewer soldiers and taxpayers. Cities couldn't maintain infrastructure. Aqueducts fell into disrepair. Roads weren't maintained. The entire system started breaking down at a fundamental level. By the 450s, the Western Empire was a shadow of its former self. Emperor Valentinian III managed to hold things together until his removal in 455 CE. After that, emperors became powerless figureheads. Real power lay with Germanic military commanders. Ricimer, a Germanic general, made and unmade emperors for 16 years. The last emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was a teenager. He took the throne in 475 CE. In 476 CE, Odoacer, commander of Germanic mercenaries, demanded land in Italy for his soldiers. When refused, he marched on Ravenna, the western capital at the time. He deposed Romulus Augustulus on September 4th, 476 CE. Odoacer didn't claim the title of emperor. Instead, he sent the imperial regalia to Constantinople. He acknowledged the Eastern emperor as sole ruler. He governed Italy as a Germanic king. This is traditionally marked as the fall of the Western Roman Empire. But it was less a dramatic collapse than a quiet transformation. The empire had already effectively ceased functioning decades earlier. 476 CE was simply when everyone stopped pretending otherwise. The Eastern Roman Empire, what we now call the Byzantine Empire, survived another 1,000 years. Why? It had a larger, wealthier population. Constantinople was better defended. The East suffered fewer barbarian invasions. Its economy remained stronger. Its administrative system functioned better. This demonstrates that Rome's fall wasn't inevitable. Different circumstances produced different outcomes. So Rome didn't fall in a day. It collapsed over more than 200 years. Through economic crisis in the 3rd century, administrative division under Diocletian, the shift of power to Constantinople under Constantine, agricultural decline and dependency on slave labor, military transformation and reliance on foreign soldiers, devastating invasions during the Great Migrations, climate change and plague reducing the population, and finally, the quiet dissolution in 476 CE. No single cause explains it. Multiple factors interacted in complex ways, creating a downward spiral that eventually couldn't be reversed. The lesson? Even the greatest empires aren't immune to slow, systemic decline. Rome's fall reminds us that power, prosperity, and stability require constant maintenance, and that when multiple problems accumulate without solutions, even eternal cities eventually fall. If this changed how you see the fall of Rome, hit that like button. Subscribe for more discoveries about ancient empires and their rise and fall. Which factor do you think contributed most to Rome's collapse? Economic problems, military decline, invasions, or something else? What lessons do you think modern civilizations can learn from Rome's fall? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read everyone and love discussing with you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.